Hey everybody, Dude Stop here. Today I made a Shadowlands Affliction guide and I wanted to wait till we got close to the release of Shadowlands, hoping no more drastic changes would happen. I'll be going over reworked spells, new spells, and baseline added spells. I'll talk about a single target and an AoE talent setup, as well as changes made to the talent tree, a quick look into each Covenant's abilities and which one I'll be choosing, and a handful of legendaries that will be the most useful. So let's get started. Affliction got one of their main spells changed a little bit, and they also got added a couple of new ones. You can only have one unstable affliction up on one mob at a time, and the spell no longer costs a soul shard to cast. Malefic Rapture has been added as our new soul shard spending spell that deals damage to AoE and single target. The cast time to summon our demons has been increased, and we have been given Fel Domination, a 3-minute cooldown to reduce that cast time, which is very nice when needing to switch a pet on demand. And Ritual of Doom has returned, where you can once again get a group together, start this ritual sacrificing a player to summon a Doom Guard that the Warlock can control. We also got some spells just added back to our baseline kit. Shadow Embrace, making our Haunt, Shadow Bolt, and Drain Soul increase the damage we deal to a target. Demonic Circle and Demonic Teleport, allowing us to be proactive to things and adding a decent amount of mobility. And 3 of our curses coming back, with Exhaustion reducing the target's movement speed, Tongues reducing the target's cast speed, and Weakness increasing the time between attacks. Here's the new talent tree for Affliction. Not much has changed, although Deathbolt has been removed from the first row, making Drain Soul the go-to pick there for the most part. Some spells have been added baseline, moving things around in this tree, but for the most part you're going with the same skills. So for single target, you're going to grab yourself Drain Soul, Siphon Life for extra Malefic Rapture damage, Burning Rush is nice, Phantom Singularity is better for single target, next row doesn't matter too much, Haunt for the 10% increased damage, and then Dark Soul Misery for that nice haste buff. For AoE, you're still going to want Drain Soul. Go for the Soul Shard sniping, grab Absolute Corruption to help you with your globals so you can spend all those Soul Shards you're generating. Vile Taint is a lot better since you're able to Soul Shard snipe. Mortal Coil can also serve as an interrupt if you do not have yours available. This row, you can kind of go either way. Affliction is very good at singling out a mob to kill, so Haunt is still a viable choice. If you're really just going for pure AoE damage, technically Sacrifice is better. And for Mythic Plus, Dark Caller is not a bad choice either. And in this last row, you will once again be going for Dark Soul Misery for that haste buff. Okay, let's get into the Covenants. Starting with the Venthyr, the 2 abilities you will get are Impending Catastrophe and Door of Shadows. The dot from Impending Catastrophe does increase the damage of Malefic Rapture, and the spell now does Smart Cursing, meaning it will put Curse of Tongues on mobs with mana and Curse of Weakness on mobs without, bringing a little extra use to the spell. Door of Shadows is a nice mobility move, with our main movement spell being Burning Rush that takes away life, having a casted blink as a nice bonus to the Warlock toolkit. Next up we have the Necrolords. The 2 abilities you will get are Decimating Bolt and Fleshcraft. The way Decimating Bolt buffed Drain Soul has been greatly nerfed. It used to be 3 Drain Souls at 200% increased damage, is now 1 Drain Soul at 100% increased damage, which has really dropped the effectiveness of this Covenant down by a lot. Fleshcraft also isn't the greatest either. You have to stand still channeling for 4 seconds to get full value, and it just doesn't feel good either. The third Covenant is the Night Fave, where you will get Soul Rot and Soul Shape. The dot from Soul Rot does increase the damage of Malefic Rapture and inflicts up to 4 targets. The second effect, which makes Drain Life drain from all affected mobs, synergizes really well with the talent Inevitable Demise. But with how good Drain Soul is, we won't use that talent very often, but it does add a playstyle that could be fun in Mythic Plus. Soul Shape, in my opinion, is one of the best or the best secondary spells you can get from all the Covenants. An instant cast Blink with the movement speed as well is just insanely good, especially for a class like Warlock. And finally we have the Curian, where you will get Scouring Tithe and Summon Steward. Once again, the dot does increase the damage of Malefic Rapture, and the side effect of gaining 5 soul shards can be extremely valuable. Being able to cast a spell on a mob that will die before the effect ends and grant 5 soul shards can set up a big burst window on other mobs. The cooldown resetting if the target does not die while affected makes boss use of this spell effective as well. Summon Steward is pretty nice to have, but not the greatest. The files he gives you do not share a cooldown with health stone or health potions, so you have 3 healing potions to use while in combat. And you can choose to use the file as a dispel on yourself. He also lets you vendor and change talents. Now for the Soulbinds. If you are going Night Fae, Dreamweaver seems to be the best choice. The cheat death proc is a really nice thing to have, and the potency conduits do not go too far down the tree. Any source of haste you can get is a nice bonus, so Field of Blossoms is a great ability as well. The Night Fae conduit ability Soul Eater isn't very good, however I would not recommend using this. Heligos is your go-to Kyrian Soulbind, as the Mastery proc from Combat Meditation and the Versatility buff from Let Go of the Past are both very strong. The Kyrian Conduit is very good as well. On top of getting 5 soul shards when a mob dies from the dot, you also gain 10% increased damage to your Malefic Rapture. If you chose Venthira as your Covenant, I would go with Nadia the Mistblade. The haste buff she provides is nice. You can really never get too much haste. It's always a nice thing to have. As usual, work your way down, grabbing both of the potency conduits. The conduit from Venthir, Catastrophic Origin, is not very good. It's not better than the other options, so I would not grab it. If you're going with Necrolords, I would pick Emily. The intellect buff is good. And depending on the content you're doing, if you're doing Mythic Pluses and you have constant uptime on Gnashing Chompers, this is actually very good, especially since your conduits will be low ranks early on. So this can outweigh some of these rank 1 conduits. Fatal Decimation is the Necrolord conduit. It is not good. I would not use it. And now to choose a Covenant. Which one's the best, or which one am I going to be choosing? Well, I can say Venthir and Necrolord for me are bottom 2. I will not be choosing either unless things change. But I don't think drastic changes will be happening this close to Shadowlands, which is why I wanted to wait to make a video like this, because Necrolord was looking super strong. The way it functioned in buffing Drain Soul early on was overpowered. They nerfed it a lot. And now it's just kind of not really a choice if you're looking for optimization. So that kind of leaves Night Fae and Kyrian. Night Fae is interesting, but Inevitable Demise isn't really our go-to talent, so it makes that spell just not as strong. Although their secondary skill, being an instant cast blink with a 30% movement speed, is crazy good for Warlocks. That's something to definitely consider. And their Soulbinds are also good, as long as Kyrian, so they're kind of on the same page there. But personally, I'm going to go with Kyrian. Their spell is just overall use very good. It's got decent single target with the skill resetting. It dips into the Warlock's ability to focus down one mob very well when other stuff's alive. If you can just tag a mob with that spell and get those 5 soul shards, you can just dump raptures into a main priority mob. Their secondary ability, it's okay. The 20% healing is nice, and the dispels of all the stuff is good. So for me, the choice is Kyrian, but Night Fae is a close second. Now for the Legendaries. There are a lot of Legendaries that you can acquire, but I am going to go over the 4 Affliction-specific Legendaries that will most likely be getting the most use. Starting off with Zakir's, similar to the Legion Helmet, making Agony generate more Soul Shards. This will be highly valuable in Mythic Plus. The more Agonies you have out, the more shards you have, the more Malefic Raptures you'll be able to dump. Second legendary is Boots of Wrath, which increases all periodic damage dealt by 5%, 20 seconds, stacking up to 5 times when a target affected by your Agony or Corruption dies. At first I was looking at this thinking it's not too great, but according to Wowhead, under the Wrath of Consumption, affected spells, Malefic Rapture does show up there, so if it is buffed by this legendary, its value actually does go up quite a bit, as that will be a lot of your damage in Mythic Plus, drain soul sniping, you get a lot of shards, just dumping Malefic Raptures out. 25% increased damage on that is a lot. So, if it works that way, that is top tier legendary. Third, we have Sacrolash. Similar to the Ring in Legion, increases the damage of corruption, reduces mobs' movement speed by 50%. Synergizes very well with absolute corruption, so anytime you need to permaslow a mob, warlocks are back at it again. Very powerful. And last, we have the Malefic Wrath. These are your single target go-to. The idea with these is to keep as much uptime as your 3 stacks as possible, so you can rotate just casting a Malefic Rapture into casting a Drain Soul, reapplying your dots, make sure you get your Malefic Rapture up to keep your 3 stacks, throw in a Drain Soul. Not going to be as effective in multi-target, as you're not going to have enough globals to keep this up as much with maintaining dots on other mobs. Malefic Rapture for 3 stacks, get your Drain Souls in there for the extra damage, but for a boss fight, this is your go-to. So we've gone over them all. We have one single target, a nice utility legendary, and then these two are kind of going to be your toss-ups for your Mythic Plus and Dungeons. Not exactly sure which one will pull ahead. Leaning towards the Boots of Wrath if it works for Malefic Rapture, because that's pretty insane. We have lots of ways to buff our Malefic Rapture, and if this is another one, spell's just going to get insane. Okay, so wrapping up the legendaries, we have our single target boss fight choice, we have our nice utility choice in some circumstances. Can't switch gear Mythic Plus anymore, so lose a little bit of value there. Might bring down the use of this legendary. And then you have your 2 AoE Mythic Plus legendaries, where I feel like the boots will pull ahead if this buff does apply to Malefic Rapture. Okay, so wrapping things up, Blizzard at any point can patch a lot of things and make big changes to as what's good, what's bad, what could be better. So some of these things may not apply after a certain update. A hot topic has always been which covenant to pick. If you feel like a covenant fits better for what you're going to be doing in the game, then play it. I narrowed it down to my 2 covenants that I would be picking. Although Venthyr is strong in AoE content, I'm not really a big fan of it, and that's why I did not really consider it in my video. This is my first WoW guide, so let me know what you liked or what I can improve on in the comments. If you liked the video or found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. I will be making more WoW related videos in the future. It will be more focused on Warlock and Death Knight, so if you want to see more, consider subscribing. I will also be live streaming a lot during Shadowlands, so if you want to watch a Warlock point of view and at some point a Death Knight, you can watch me on Twitch. I'll have the link in the description. Once again, thanks for watching, have a good day, and good luck in Shadowlands.